This video will demonstrate the most important part of video editing, and that's managing your folders, files, and projects. Before you begin any project, it's important for your group to create a group folder. This is where you will contain all of your projects and files and everything that you work on throughout the semester. Your group folder should also contain another folder which will house or organize each one of your project files. So, for example, your first project should have a project folder, your second project should have another project folder, and so on throughout the semester. Each one of those folders will contain the files for that specific project. So for project 1, I might have 3 video files. Those video files will need to be organized inside my project folder, and that project folder is inside my group folder. If I have any images that are going to go along with project number 1, it needs to be organized inside that project number 1 folder. And same thing with my music files. Any file that is going to be used for project 1 must be contained inside that same folder. As we look and move on to project number 2, I'm going to have different video files and different image files and maybe some different music files. Again, all of those should be organized and kept together inside that same project number 2 folder. The reason why this is so important is that as I move on to creating a video project, those files are used a little bit differently than what you might be used to. So for example, a lot of us are used to creating either a PowerPoint or Google Slides presentation. In those cases, when you copy a file, whether it's a video or an image or a music file, and you place it inside that presentation, what happens is that it actually makes a physical copy of that image and moves it into that presentation file. So now it's separate, so that means if I were to delete this image or video, it would have no effect on my actual presentation. What's different about doing a video presentation is that if I were to if I wanted to use this video as part of my video project in Movavi, it won't make a copy of it. Instead, what the program does is it actually links to your video project. What's so important about creating these different project folders then is that if I were to move or delete this file, what would happen is that I'm actually breaking that link because the Movavi project no longer knows where that file is located, because remember, that file doesn't become part of the project. It's just a link back to that file. So what your Movavi video editing software is doing is that as you're making cuts and transitions and changing the volume and background music, is it's not actually changing the original file, it's just changing and keeping track of all those changes inside your project. So that's why it's so important from the very beginning and throughout the semester that as you're working on that specific project, if you're going to have a file that's going to be edited in your Movavi editing program, it's important to keep all of those together inside that same project folder. The only way to get this back would be to find that original file and put it back inside that project 1 folder so that you can relink that information back to your project. You won't have to worry about it as long as you keep all your files together inside your project folder. Anytime you edit a video project, whether you're using Movavi or any other type of video editing program, it's always going to follow 3 phases of your final project. The first phase is to take your video from your camcorder or whatever recording device you have and moving it to your computer. So the first step is transferring those files. The next step is to actually edit those files in your video editing software, and this is where you're actually editing your project. And again, your program's keeping track of all of your cuts, all of your changes to your audio, and any background music or images that you might be inserting into that project. This is not what you'll turn in at the end of your project. Instead, what you'll need to do is once all your video edits are completed and you've saved your project, you then need to export. So all of that gets combined into one final video file. This video demonstrated the importance of staying organized with folders, files, and projects.